Knife dope. More dope. Come and get your fix. What's up, fuckers? Your boy is back with a fresh batch of dope. Like dope. That's right, people. The hits don't stop. Now, it's been no secret and long since corroborated of just how deep your boy is in the EDC streets. Now, what tends to be forgotten from time to time is just how integral I've been in the mod life movement. That's right, it's a movement. Hashtag mod life, bitches. Now, when it comes to modding knives for me, typically I have one of two reasons, whether it be aesthetically or functionally speaking. But I've had several knives that I felt I actually modded and that ended up being better than the original. Case in point has got to be this hoe. We're talking about the uber rare variant of the Quiet Carry Rincon. This one rocking that gorgeous 3D beveled blade. Now, for the most part, this knife is perfect in its own right. However, I had a vision. I wanted some bearings in mind, so I sent it out to Alfred at AR Customs, who accommodated me on that. So now we are rocking skifferoonies in the pivot, thereby elevating this modded version past its original counterpart. Now, keeping that same energy, I've got 5 knives whose modded counterpart is better than the original. And so without further ado, let's get to the dope. Now, this first one is definitely one that you should be familiar with. This is my modded version of the ProTech Mordax. Now, the Mordax, just like the Rincon, is perfect as it arrived, usually coming with a flipper tab only for your deployment. Well, I wanted bulbous tits on mine, so way back in 2023, I sent this out to Alfred as well, who accommodated me on such shenanigans, giving me the bulbous tits I needed in my life. Now, these bulbous tits are such a game changer that I actually think ProTech took notice of this. Makes sense, as they then gave us the best plunge lock in the game, the ProTech TR3 Integrity, with bulbous tits, minus the flipper tab. So proof that modding can pay off, and once again, proof that the modded version of the knife is better than the original. That one was the ProTech Mordax. All right, next up. Another one that you should be familiar with, as this one was actually one of my most disappointing pieces in 2024. Now, that being said, I still love the hoe, and she ain't going nowhere. This is the Flash Batch from Spyderco, and this is the Spy Mito. Now, if you don't know, the Spy Mito is actually a collaboration between Lion Steel and Spyderco, designed after one of Lion Steel's own models called the Mito. Now, one of the main reasons I was kind of, disappointed by this knife when it arrived, number one was the grind. This was marketed as having a nice hollow grind. That wasn't the case. Also, when it arrived, it had the show side scale in micarta. Typically, I despise mismatched scales. Although the micarta quality was good, your boy's a titanium hoe. I wanted a full titanium version. So being that this was designed right after the Mito, the scales were interchangeable. So I did the next best thing I could, which was ordered me a Mito just to remove that show side scale, thereby giving me a full titanium version of the Spyderco Spy Mito. And then while doing that mod, I also decided to use the milled pocket clip, which comes on the Mito, thereby elevating this modded version past the original. So that one is the Spyderco Spy Mito. All right, next up, a little bit of Chinese dope, because I know you fuckers love it. This is the Sharp by Design Apex. Now, I ain't going to shit you. I do not really like this knife. Only reason she's here today at KnifeDope Studios is because I accommodated a dear friend and a little bit of Swaparooski. But outside of that, this knife really does not speak to me. And the primary reason for that has got to be the handle. I really do not like these hole cutouts in the handle. Just aesthetically speaking, it does nothing for me. Well, the good news is there's hope, people. There's a simple mod that can change the whole game. This is coming from the Queen herself. This is her version of the Sharp by Design Apex. Now, these were OEM by Riot, and you can see here simply by putting these inserts in just how better this modded version looks in comparison to the original. Now, she did tell me that they had several different variants of inserts you could go with. I believe this one is some sort of maybe like a, I don't know if we call that shipwreck or just purple and blue carbon fiber. Call it what you want, but it is definitely an upgrade. We've got this beautiful Tonto apparatus, compound grind, S90V, steel of the gods. Now the pocket clip is still in the place I don't like, but I think those inserts definitely elevate this knife to a whole new level. But that one was the Sharp by Design Apex. All right, next up, my one and only chopped knife in the collection. This is the chopped and screwed version of the Spyderco Swayback. Now, this was actually done by a friend of the channel. This was done for me by Kev from Duty's Daggers. And I believe when he did this chopped, I believe he was the only one that I knew of at the time who was offering this on this model. Now, since that time, there have been several other modders out there offering a very similar mod, but I think Kev was the trailblazer when it came to this. Now, he also did something which I love. He went ahead and he gave us a second form of deployment by cutting away some of that top of the scales there. We now have this front flipper, and even better than that, he actually gave us some fine jimping. Pay attention, machine-wise. You can put jimping on a flipper tab. Now, as far as this version versus the original Swayback was more of an exaggerated Wharncliffe. This chopped version is coming in with a beautiful sheep's foot blade. Now, as far as specs goes, I do not have an original Swayback to show you, but the original version came in about 8 inches overall length with a 3.5-inch blade, 3.9 ounces. I do have something that's comparable in size, though, and that, of course, is going to be the Devo Tall Boy, aka the Tall Hoe. Now, the chopped version of the Swayback, which we're going to call the Dude Back, comes in at 6.9 inches, 3 inches of blade length, 2.75 inches as far as cutting length. That's primarily due to that beautiful sharpening choil. We also shed a little bit of weight with this chopped version. We're coming in at 3.4 ounces versus the 3.9 on the original Swayback. Now, this is such a stellar knife in this modded form that I actually hope one day perhaps Spyderco may draw inspiration from this and give us a mini Swayback. But until then, I'll just enjoy this Dude Back as she is now in the collection. All right, last up, got another chopped and screwed variant. This one actually coming from the GOAT himself. That is, of course, David from Blade Chops. And this is once again coming from the Queen's collection. This is her chopped version of the Spyderco Smock. Now, the Smock in its original form comes in about 7.9 inches as far as overall length, 3.39 inches of blade length, also coming in at 3.7 ounces as far as weight goes. Now, when it came to this chopped version of the Smock, Miss Heidi went ahead and got full-length, met-embossed titanium scales. After that, she sent it out to David so he could do his magic. Now, once again, I do not have an original Smock to give you for comparison, but I've got something that's very similar in size. That, of course, is the Spyderco Switch Buoy. Now, the chopped version of the Smock has got coming in at 6.7 inches, so about 1.2 inches smaller than the full-size Smock. Then we've got 2.8 inches of blade length, and we actually went up in weight on this one, coming in at 4 ounces as far as weight goes. That is primarily due to the weight of the titanium scales. But even though we have that added weight, and even though we've got quite a bit smaller as far as overall length goes, the generous finger choil does accommodate the full purchase, no refund. So no issues as far as ergos goes. Once again, I think this chopped version is actually better than the original. Hopefully one day I'll have something modded, or rather chopped, by David as well. Well, there we have it, goddammit. 5 knives that are better as mods than the original versions. You know, when it comes to mod life, it is actually a labor of love. You know, for the most part, you lose money when modding these knives. But ask me if I give a shit. But more importantly, I want to know what you fuckers think. Which knife would you chop and screw? What's some of your favorite mods? Tell me all about it. Love you, mean it. Until the next time. Cut something. Cut someone. Just don't cut yourself. Stay dangerous, fuckers!